Hello, this is Dr. William Thomas, PhD. Did you ever wonder about current issues that seem to get lost in a world of woke politics and political disinterest? Dive with us into the tumultuous issues that are overlooked, often intentionally by the mainstream press and politicians, that while unsettling are paramount to our own national and personal survival. In this episode, we will examine the topic of open borders. While on the surfaces this sounds like a plausible utopian ideal, but behind the idea lie an unrealized threat to individual and national security. Open borders, if left unattended and unchecked, can and often do potentially create significant security risk. In a world increasingly interconnected yet paradoxically fraught with division, the question of border security has taken on a new level of urgency. Analysts and policymakers grapple with the complexities of an open border framework, where the flow of people, goods and ideas is both a boon and a bane. Among the myriad of concerns regarding open borders, one of the most pressing threats looms: the potential for terrorism and the infiltration of extremist ideology into unsuspecting populations. Imagine a small town nestled in the heart of a sprawling nation, a place where everyone knows their neighbors and the concept of community feels sacred. It's the type of town where families have lived for generations and traditions are passed down with pride. But beneath the surface of this idyllic life lies a disruptive reality. The town is not just a point of connection, but also a vulnerable entry point, one where the boundaries that once offered a sense of security are fading. The global paradigm has shifted in a way that has idealized the concept of open borders. Advocates claim that it promotes economic growth, cultural exchange, and humanitarian relief. They paint a portrait of harmonious coexistence where borders dissolve and barriers collapse. Yet entwined with this vision lurks a darker narrative, illustrated by the silent spectre of terrorism that preys on such openness. The episodic reality of terrorist attacks across multiple continents serves as a chilling reminder of vulnerability. The willingness of extremists to exploit these very freedoms undermines the safety of innocence. In the shadows of bustling border towns, operatives from various extremist organizations observe closely. With the utilization of digital platforms, they no longer need to traverse dangerous terrains. Instead, they can capitalize on weaknesses found in open borders. Individuals raised in the ideological crucible of violent extremism can traverse thousands of miles on foot or by means of impromptu travel, seeking refuge or merely a way to disappear. Borders that should serve as protective mechanisms dissolve, allowing the infiltration of ideologies that threaten the very fabric of society. Consider a scenario where an individual arrives at a border checkpoint, seemingly an ordinary traveler. They possess no marked signs of radicalization, no extremist literature, no peculiar behavior, but beneath this facade lies a sophisticated intent to wreak havoc. Their ability to blend in, facilitated by lax border measures, renders them an almost invisible threat. Media coverage discusses the success stories of refugees and migrants, a narrative often used to defend open borders, but fails to address the darker potential for those with malicious intent to exploit the system for their own ends. Yet the threat is not only from those who cross borders directly, but also from the networks behind them. Terrorist organizations, once confined to specific regions, have expanded their reach and recruitment efforts globally. With open borders, these groups can orchestrate operations far beyond their geographical zones, leveraging vulnerable populations for their agendas. Once a foot soldier for a cause, an individual may take on the guise of a law-abiding citizen, seamlessly embedding themselves within communities that welcome diversity. Communities often eager to foster acceptance and inclusion may inadvertently bind themselves to the consequences of inaction or ignorance, potentially overlooking warning signs that signal radicalization. As the months turn into years, footage surfaces, a video release or a social media post showcasing the result of such embedded terrorism. Communities grapple with disbelief. How could someone they welcomed into their midst become part of a gruesome agenda? The painful reality is that the pull of extremist ideologies can be insidious, capable of taking root among those least expected to abide by them. In addition to the direct threat to local communities, open borders can create logistical hurdles for security agencies. The challenge lies in discerning those who present a genuine need for asylum or relocation from those harboring ill intentions. Vast networks of intelligence and surveillance can only do so much. As cities struggle with the sheer volume of entrants, the margin for error grows perilously close. The erosion of clear lines reinforces the notion that borders serve not only to delineate territory but also to safeguard populations. Beyond the borders of geography, ideologies spread more rapidly than ever, given the proliferation of digital communication. Extremist narratives can permeate minds without the need for physical presence. Open borders, such as those sponsored by the current and soon-to-be previous administration, inadvertently encourage the circulation of these narratives, fueling radicalization at home and abroad. As policymakers navigate the turbulent waters of immigration reform, national security, and the ethical implications of border policy, they carry a heavy mandate. The balance between compassion for those fleeing violence and the imperative to protect domestic populations is fraught with challenges. While a compassionate approach to humanitarian efforts holds merit, the spectre of terrorism lurking at the edges must be addressed explicitly. In the complex interplay of global movements and migrations, the lines drawn, both literal and metaphorical, must account for evolving threats. As stories unfold of those whose lives were irrevocably altered by violence, it becomes painfully clear. Maintaining an open society ought never to come at the cost of safety, for in a world that aspires toward unity, vigilance against the shadows of extremism must remain a priority. The stakes have never been higher, and the resolve to forge a balanced approach stands as the cornerstone of a secure future. So, the next time you hear discussions about the benefits of open borders from politicians, mainstream media, or those with an unrealistic woke agenda, remember, the potential dangers lurking behind that idealistic vision are more dangerous to personal and national security than they appear on the surface. Stay informed and stay secure. If you enjoyed this presentation, be sure to click on the like and subscribe buttons. We welcome well-informed comments that contribute to this topic, so be sure to join in the comments section below. If you have more pressing questions or suggestions for future topics, contact me at Dr. William Thomas, PhD@gmail.com. This is Dr. William Thomas saying goodbye and Godspeed.